guys, welcome to Flory Models. Here we are. We're going to call these vlogs, I think, because the whole point of doing these ones is they're supposed to be more sort of intimate and a sort of a behind the scenes thing. And I know, obviously, because of my little speech I gave the other day and the direction I want us to go and what we want us to do and everything else like that, I just wanted to clarify a couple of things. A lot of you have been saying about the vlogs obviously take up a lot of time. To be honest, they don't. These things are shot on my tiny little Canon handheld camera thing. It's a little point and shoot, but it does it extremely well. And literally, I just grab it, I turn it on. There's no real editing to it. I just tend to chuck it down. All right, you get the speeded up bits and the bits and pieces like that. But generally, it doesn't take up any time. And this is where I can ramble, if you like. You know me, I like to get on a rant and I go for it. Normally it will happen now because I can just grab this camera, I put it down and I can go and have a little rant or a chat, or I can show you something on the fly, which is something that I've obviously developed. The last 2 years we've been sort of doing this, and I think it's the one thing about everything that's worked really, really well, because I really enjoy these, probably more than you realise, because it is my little window to you guys. Because to be honest, when I'm sort of sat here, you know, look, you can see me. This is how I see me. But yeah, really, that's it. I'm talking to that. And it's not very, you know, I don't know, what's the word I'm after? It's not very sort of, you know, close and anything else like that. So from that point of view, I wanted to have something where I can look right down at the camera and have a chat like I'm chatting to my friends and the bits and pieces like that. So the plan really is, or my envisioned is that what's going to happen is Monday to Thursday is going to be vlog form. So I'm just going to use this camera, no big cameras, no editing and everything else. So it speeds up my time. I don't have to worry about any of that. I can literally take it over to this computer, offload it onto it. One file goes behind there. They'll perhaps trim out a bit where I cock it up at the beginning every time. And generally you get my thoughts and views for that day. So that way I can show you things as they come into the office and stuff that normally you wouldn't really see and things like that. And occasionally when I do the little trips and I go out, I can take you with me because I don't feel it interferes with everything else. And originally it was going to be two separate video things together. YouTube, you get a lot of YouTubers, they have a vlogging channel and a normal, but I can't be moving it, right? Just chuck it all in one. So if you're wondering, like tomorrow, what's going to happen, tomorrow you're actually going to get a bit like the old-fashioned news show. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to all of these videos. I can sit down in front of them, do a little sheet of everything that's happened this week, and I can do a proper recap. And then if it's been something that like turned up, like when we had those bits and pieces turn up yesterday and the kits and things like that, I show you sort of like this, but you don't really have a proper nosy at it. But what I'll do is I'll get the camera in and you can have a proper nosy at it. Or if I felt that something happened this week that really needs to be spoken about a lot more, i.e. group builds, endings, SIGs, perhaps somebody's working the forum, whatever it might be, I can then dedicate quality edited time into that. So what you'll get really is a situation where if you love me rambling all the time, you can sit here, watch these, you know, you're good to go. And then on Friday, you're going to get a bit of recapping, but it'll be a more polished and edited form. And I'm trying to still keep them shorter. So I'm not going to do like an hour and a half ramble. So the Friday show is only going to be a half an hour show, but it'll just be a recap of the real creme de la creme bits, the best bits, that top 10% of what we've done this week. So if we've been working on something, you know, or I can show you something like that, and you know, various bits and pieces, and I can link into what we've been up to. So like reviews, what's come in, my ideas, thoughts, and everything else like that. So it's going to be more of a polished show on Friday. So for you guys who love the Friday show, it's making a return in a sort of way. Okay, but the big problem I had with the Friday show used to be is that I'd get to Thursday morning and I'd start to worry about what the hell I'm going to talk about for an hour on Friday. And then it was all right for the first little bit and when you got lots to talk about, but when you haven't got anything to do, I'd be sat there literally Thursday night with a piece of paper in front of me trying to put together some type of show, and it made it really, really hard because I hadn't got a clue. And some days I'd sit here without a clue what I'm going to go on about and then manage to scrape through it. But it makes it hard work and it makes it daunting, and also it takes up a lot of time. So by me being able to do this, I'm hoping that the Friday show I can get done, edited and up onto YouTube by sort of 3-4 o'clock on Friday afternoon, and then that way it's not really interfering with everything because I'm just sort of recapping and then showing you in detail something. So I might say on Monday we spoke about blah blah blah. I might show you a clip of a bit of Monday's show, and then, but you know, from the most part it'll be completely new footage, although I might just be recapping the odd little bits and pieces. Anyway, spray booth is done. Had a bit of a test with it for airflow and stuff. I need to change a few things to it. First of all, up here, the hose system, what happens is, because there's quite a lot of air going through there now, it all sort of expands, whereas before it just flows. Now, because there's quite a lot of air pressure going in there with it all going out, it all pushes and everything. So what I'm going to do, as one of you guys quite rightly said, actually on the forum, about sticking in solid pipe. Okay, so we're going to do that sort of 4 or 5 inch diameter pipe, and we're going to have it coming up and the other one. And then what we'll do is, once it's in the cupboard, because that's where that goes, it goes up into here, then out the wall. Okay, and then we'll do it all in solid form. Okay, so I'm going to get my old bits and pieces out, and we will literally sort of, you know, make a solid duct system instead of the flexi stuff, because the only thing I have found, when you turn it all on, it all starts pushing away from each other, and you know, it's like a balloon blowing up. So we need to stop that, and also it will increase airflow because there'll be less resistance. This is my engineering bit coming back, because obviously the ripples aren't in there, so it'll just be a solid lump. It'll flow through a lot easier than getting caught and causing vortexes and all that stuff going in the piping system, which is what's making it expand. Okay, rough air. So we're going to get that one done. But anyway, what I'm going to do this afternoon, because it's 1 o'clock now, to be honest, I was out this morning sorting out a few bits and pieces. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a couple of the reviews, because there's a couple of them going to be coming up very, very soon. I want to have a look at those. To be honest, I am itching to look into this box. There's not many times in modelling where I get one come in and I don't know a thing about it. As I say, I looked at it at Telford, but I can't really remember. It seems a lifetime ago now. But I'm really interested to see if this is a genuine model kit or if it's just overside locating tabs, you know, and various things like that. You know, the sort of locating pins, if they're just massive, and how well it's going to go together. I intend to do this as a one-day build, so for you guys as well, we're a little bit worried, shall we say, about, oh god, he's going to not do small little 1/72 stuff. What I'm going to do is going to do those on their own merit. Okay, so they're going to be sort of the one-day builds that might fall into like 3 or 4 one-day builds, but it will be a one-day build, and this could be a classic for it, because if it goes together quite quickly, what we could do is build it, you know, within a couple of hours, and then prime, paint, and do a metal job on it and all the rest of it within a day. So that'd be a nice one to do. So fear not, you guys who were saying, you know, I know there's a lot of you who are worried about, well, you're saying you're only going to do 1/32 stuff. Don't panic, I'm still going to be doing everything else. It's just that that's what I like to do. I was trying to explain when we spoke about it, is that that's what I like to do. And some of you have said about how you used to like the old form when we used to do the old builds, the old crappy low res jobs. It seemed very intimate. That's because I think we're in a smaller room, not as many cameras and stuff like that, a bit like this. And it gives it that more intimacy about being in a room with a guy who's modelling. I'm going to try and get that back as well. We're going to do a lot more sort of tighter focuses and things like that in there. But my whole point about doing the 30-second scale stuff is that from my point of view of here, it's easier for me to sort of convey a message or show you a technique or whatever it is on something bigger, because it's just easier to show it on camera. If it's something tiny, if I'm working on a 1/72 and I'm doing like photo etch harnesses or something on there, it's very difficult to see because the tweezers are sort of always in the way. But on 1/32 stuff I can show you. So hopefully what you'll be able to do from all of these, no matter what I'm working on, doesn't matter if it's small or large, you'll be able to actually take away from it how it's done on a bigger scale, and that will just literally go down then to all the scales. So okay, it's the same in 30 seconds, it's going to be the same in 48, it's going to be the same in 70 seconds, and if you are a martyr and do a 144, it's going to be the same in there again. Okay, it's just from my point of view, it's easier to show you an overall, if you like, as a whole. But don't panic too much. I'm not going to get bogged down like we did last time of doing the Fokker Wolf, because I know that went on a lot longer. But then in theory, if you go back to things like when we did the big builds before, some of those are 18-20 parts as well. So really the Fokker Wolf got away quite lightly. It could have been worse, but I'm going to push through them quicker. And as I said before, don't panic about them taking months either, because I'm going to be focusing solely on one thing at a time. That's where my attention's going to be. I'll be able to rattle them out within weeks. It'll be like doing commission stuff as well, and everything else. And because I've only got one, I've got more space. It'll just be easier and nicer to work and everything else like that. So there we go. So right, I'm going to review this. Okay then guys, well, good afternoon's work. To be honest, I've just reviewed this. As I said, it's going to be like a two-parter. The first part of the review is just your standard review as I review them all. What I am going to do though next week, I'm going to spend an hour or two, I'm going to pop it together. I'm going to paint the cockpit, the internals, the bits and pieces, just to give it a basic job. But really what we're going to do is see how well this goes together, and then what we can do is then obviously paint it with metallizers and that. But I think it's quite an exciting thing, and I'm intrigued as much as everybody else is to know how well this goes together without any filler and all the rest of it. If it turns out it's going to need a load of filler and things like that, then we'll probably put the brakes on a little bit and I'll spend my time and do it properly rather than just rushing through it. The other one I've reviewed this afternoon is this guy. Again, I needed to see what it was like because obviously this is my planned build and I wanted to know if it was as good as I'd heard about. Actually, it's not too bad. It's not brilliant. It is Revel again. You know, I hate to say it, but it is that thing where the expectation is always here for a kit. Revel always are about here. There's nothing wrong with it. And from a basic point of view, it really is good. But just like the FW190 that we did, it needs a lot of work if you're going to take it up to the levels of the AAA titles, things like that. There's nothing we can't do, and I intend to carry on, and we're going to do it. So what I might do with this one, we have got the aftermarket wheel set for it. What I might do is just see how it plays out now for the next couple of months and see what aftermarket comes out. What this really needs is, to be honest, is a colour photo etch set in there as a minimum, because the cockpit's pretty crap, to be honest. But the rest of it, I think you can liven up with a little bit of lead wiring and your normal detailing skills. And I think a re-rivet job on this one will really bring it to life and we'll be good to go with it. So generally, not a bad kit. But anyway, you'll see that next week. You'll see this guy tomorrow. The other thing as well, which you've probably seen now, these are up. The actual review is up now for this guy. Go off and have a look. I'll link it below here. It is great. They are lovely and everything else. And to be honest, I'm just about to go down to B&Q in a minute to pick up the hose work to make it solid. And we're going to do that system with it. That way we should have a better venting system, because at the moment, as we explained earlier, it's just getting a bit concertina-ish, shall we say. So we're going to do that. The thing I did mention, or failed to mention, to be honest, in the review, was the depth of this when it's up against the wall. 20 centimeters, that's all it is, so it doesn't take up too much room at all. So if you do want to mount it against a wall, you've still got all this lovely room in front and everything else. And some of you have mentioned about obviously not being able to get my knees in now. Now I can sit here in total calm and serenity and spray and everything else like that. And the way that my camera angles are going to work and everything, that is going to be my angle I'm going to be shooting at. So I'm always going to be spraying this way. So to sit here, it'd be quite a nice one, because I'm going to be talking to you guys with the camera angle just here for a head-on shot. We've got a nice sweeping one. It's going to be coming down from both sides. And of course, we've got good old-fashioned overhead above us at the same time. So pretty exciting stuff. Because I've done all the reviews, that actually does mean, and I have got it down here and I've had a look and everything else, tomorrow we're going to be spraying this guy. So we're going to get the cockpit put on, close it all up temporarily and all the rest of it. Bit of a wipe over, you know, basically prepare the plastic and everything else. And it is going to take our first inaugural spray in the new spray booth and everything else like that. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then I'm going to push through that one basically for tomorrow, and then on Monday and Tuesday until it's finished. Then we're going to be starting on the A10. I know a load of you have asked about the A10. I need to go through it all. I need to get it all out. We'll look at it all on Monday, I think, and go through everything that I'm going to do to it and the plan as we make our way through. The other thing I do have to mention just before we go is I'm sorry about the confusion about the PM business. Yes, technically it's a private message, but when I say private message, I didn't mean you're all going to get it in your inbox. I actually meant as in if it's a private message for the forum only, and I wasn't going to put it out on the outside world to see. So it's not on YouTube and it's not on the normal public viewed areas on the site. It was a private message, as in just talking to you guys. The one is in the forum. So if you want to go off and have a look at it, it's in the announcement section. I think most of you are aware what was going to happen now and all the bits and pieces that we want to change and things, and my new work ethic and what I want to try and achieve and do. And to be honest, today is a classic example of it, because I've spent about an hour just fiddling with stuff, which I normally don't do, but I was like, no, I'm going to have a go. I'm going to have a play with a few little things, a couple of little things I'm going to show you next week now that I've been working on, right, I've got a better understanding of it, instead of just rushing into it and going through it and everything else like that. But as I said, it's exciting time to me. It just means it's going to be a lot more relaxed. Not as head-on and pushing through as we've done before, and try and get it back to how we were a few years ago before we got big and noticed and everything else like that. So that's it. Anyway, that's it from me. Thank you for joining me today. As I say, tomorrow there's not going to be a vlog as such, because I'm going to give you a proper new show. So we'll use the proper cameras and all the bits and pieces, and we can talk about obviously what we've gone on this week, and then obviously your great work in the forum and everything else like that. So there we go. Thanks for joining me for this week's vlogs. I'll catch you all on Monday, and I'll see you all tomorrow's new show.